Hey there, good morning, and welcome to Breakfast with Bridgett here on News 6 Plus. I'm Bridgett Ellison. Good to be with you on this Tuesday, July 30th. It's almost the end of the month, and back to school is upon us. Today, we're talking to a live interview, talking to a doctor out of Miami about getting ready for back to school with the kids, as well as some of the latest technology that's helping with some of those anxieties and fears that come up with doctor's appointments and shots. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, we want to head over to Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos in the Pinpoint Weather Center. And, we had a beautiful launch to watch this morning with that sunrise in the backdrop, Candace. And
Mhm.
we're also talking about the tropics, and it's a little bit of everything today.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk about, and I know that, it's something that we've been talking about already for a couple of days. It's a tropical wave, very broad, out over the Atlantic. It's been catching a lot of people's attention over the weekend on social media. So, like what we always say is make sure that you are following your trusted sources, whether it's us, whether it's another trusted source, just making sure that you know who you're watching because it's very easy to quickly send out kind of those scary weather models and just kind
Well,
of
these days you
doing
can pick any rabbit hole, right? To go
and
down.
that's the thing. So making sure you have that safe space that you know you can trust um,
Right.
that source and making sure that they're giving you the information when you need it, how much you really need it without kind of just over delivering too much of
Mm-hmm.
these crazy models. So let's take it to the map. Let's show you what's going on right now. This is oh, hold on a second. It just advanced on me. Hold
Oh,
on. Has a mind of its own. There it is. All right. These are our tropical takeaways. Okay. So at the end of the day, it's a tropical wave. It's very broad. It's uh, battling a lot of dry air at this point in time. And so we still got a lot of time to watch it. And that's kind of the beauty and the beast of tropical meteorology, right? We know something is out there and then we watch it for so long to the point that you're exhausted by the time it does anything. But with that being said, trying not to go down those rabbit holes too much. Let us do the heavy lifting and going down those rabbit holes and kind of nitpicking those models because right now models are still in very much of a disagreement. We've got some models taking it to the Gulf of Mexico. We have some other ones taking it to the Atlantic. And of course, here in Central Florida, we're just kind of sitting there in the middle, waiting to find out what scenario that is going to be. So, with that being said, is this something that you need to be canceling weekend plans? Should you be boarding up? All these questions that we get, and I know that they go through your head when we are in this type of the time of the year. This is not something that you need to be canceling your plans on. This is something, though, that you should be closely watching, monitoring the updates again from your trusted source. So here's the tropical outlook. Basically, this broad tropical wave, well, I just advanced it, sorry. This broad tropical wave is basically dealing with a lot of dry air. You can kind of see all that dry air really kind of on that northern fringe of that tropical wave. It's really hard to almost like pinpoint where it is. But again, it is big, it is broad. There's still no real defined center of circulation. So, because it's still dealing with a lot of hurdles and obstacles, the National Hurricane Center is really not expecting it to develop into anything until it moves more into that orange zone there, which will be within the next 5 to 7 days, which is why it has a 0% chance of developing in the next 2 days, but about a 60% in the next seven. So again, it is something we're going to continue to closely monitor. Until then, though, it's going to be a typical summer setup this week. Chance of rain inland, coverage about 50%. Highs today will be into those mid 90s. So let me show you here clouds and rain forecast. Still showing the development of that East Coast sea breeze pushing inland, then towards I-4 by about 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But really, that collision zone for today, that 50-60% chance of rain will be favoring areas between I-4 and 75 between about 6 and about 8 o'clock. And then everything really kind of tapers off nicely. We'll clear everything out. Will stay mostly dry throughout the overnight and again into early tomorrow morning. Heat index in the meantime, if you're not dealing with the rain, you're dealing with the heat. 103 to 106 could be our feels like temperatures for today with our highs again into those mid 90s. But those mid 90s will continue to be kind of the big story throughout the next couple of days. But then Saturday and Sunday, you can see those rain chances still running near normal. Let me show you a quick graphic here on scenarios. Hold on, let me show you. It's a graphic that I've been showing throughout the morning hours. Hold on. Let's see. Stay with me. There it is. This is the graphic that I wanted to show you. So this is basically what we're talking about. We have a big Bermuda ridge, a big high over Bermuda. You can see it there on the right side of your screen, right? Right now, it's dominant. It is strong. And if it stays that way, we're going to look at the scenario of it pushing into the Gulf of Mexico. That's the GFS model. Now, you can see up to the north, you see those white arrows? That's the dip in the jet stream. That little jet right there is what's going to nudge that ridge of high pressure further out into the Atlantic, and it would give almost a little pathway for whatever this is, this tropical wave, to potentially make that right turn and stay out into the Atlantic once it approaches the Bahamas. So the GFS puts it into the Gulf a bit weaker. The euro keeps it stronger, keeps into the Atlantic. And again, we're kind of in that middle zone, Bridgett, when it comes to those scenarios. So which is why come Saturday and Sunday, rain chances for us here in Central Florida, we're keeping it consistent, normal at about a 50 to 60%. But of course, we'll fine tune those details depending on what we've got. The problem is, Bridgett, really at the end of the day, there's no real center of circulation. There's very limited data coming from that zone. So we don't have hurricane hunters in there just yet. We don't have any surface observations because it's in the middle of the Atlantic. We've got it a very broad system. So you have little centers trying to claim dominance. So you have a model that's picking up the center here, and then you have a model picking up the center here. So already they're in disagreement of what the start point is. So of course, once you start taking these models outward 5-7 days, you're going to have a lot of disagreement. So that's why it's one of those things that I can just sit here and post the GFS model and tell you, don't worry about it. I can post the Euro model and say, it's going to get strong, it's going to get close, but we don't do that here at News 6, right? We're going to show you the information we have, try to kind of cherry pick kind of the big time players in the model world in those trends, and not to show you one trend, but show you that ensemble. So of course that is what we do. This is going to be, it's a very long season. We're not even into August yet. We still have like 80% of tropical activity to get through. So don't go down those wormholes. I know it's easy to do so. But this is the one of many tropical waves that we will be watching, and this won't be the first nor the last time that we'll be under that zone of potential development in the next couple of days.
Right. So hang in there. Keep tuning in for the latest updates and estimations, calculations. Yes.
Exactly. Right. I have families who has a big time second birthday down in Miami. They're all panicking, and I'm telling them, don't cancel your plans just yet. Let's give it some time. Let's figure things out, and then we'll punt from there.
All right. Sounds like a plan. What else can we do?
Yeah, exactly. That's all.
Because worrying's not going to help.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, Candace.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we want to get you an update on some breaking news we've been following all morning. If you were watching News 6 mornings, we talked about an area blocked off with crime scene tape, and we were waiting to get some more information. We knew a call went out about a shooting, but law enforcement was not confirming much for us. But we do now know it was a 16-year-old boy shot and killed earlier this morning in Orange County. This happened just before 1 a.m. along Easton Street in the neighborhood there. And investigators say the teen was rushed to the hospital but ended up dying from the injuries, unfortunately. And deputies have not said anything about the shooter, but did say everyone involved remained at the scene. So we'll continue to update this. We'll have more on clickorlando.com and in our updates coming up this morning on News 6. Also, a troubling story out of downtown Orlando this time. An attack in a parking garage. So this is a crime alert because they are still looking for the person involved in this. But this happened involving UCF police because a woman was followed, she says, from a Lynx bus stop and then dragged into a stairwell of a parking garage and sexually assaulted at the UCF's downtown campus. This happened Sunday night in the Amelia Street garage, and they have identified a suspect, but they are still on the run. So investigators say the victim reported everything quickly and was able to give a good description, but the suspect's name hasn't been released. We'll let you know as soon as that information comes out, but they are working to get an arrest warrant, and they say the victim and the suspect are not affiliated with UCF, but again, this was at the Amelia Street garage at UCF's downtown campus. And now we want to go to a parking investigation. This is from Eric Von Aken, and it's something that we've been covering for nearly a year. Dozens of drivers have been parking illegally on the side of the roads leading up to Orlando International Airport. And if you go through that area quite frequently, you've seen people parked in the shoulders. It is dangerous, but is this problem going to be fixed at all? You know, there are signs there, but that hasn't stopped anyone. So here's Eric with more on the latest with this problem and the latest in the investigation.
This is the press release from the airport on July 17th. They say they recently worked with the Orlando Police Department to enhance enforcement, which had a significant impact. They say they moved in June 1,619 vehicles. In the first half of July, 420 vehicles were moved. But did it change drivers' behavior? Well, as you can see over there on a Monday afternoon, apparently not. And watch this.
Just one night after the airport sent out that press release, this dash cam footage was recorded by Uber driver and business owner Scott Ellis. After his close call, Scott warned us about the dangers of illegal shoulder parking, not just allowing cars to sit so close to the tarmac and parked planes, but also the confusion that it causes for traffic driving past the impromptu parking lot. Watch the silver SUV suddenly braking and then slowing, just as a pickup driver decides to leave the shoulder, merge into traffic, and cross 3 lanes.
And the airport clearly understands this is a bad idea. They say that right here in their press release, that illegal parking not only poses a hazard to drivers, but also obstructs traffic flow and causes congestion. And the airport says that some of these drivers will get warnings, maybe even tickets. And we also told you how the airport is looking into other ideas besides enforcement. Things like not just additional no parking signs, but flashing lights, maybe loudspeakers, even cameras here on the side of the road. And the airport wants to remind you there are always 2 round-the-clock free and legal places to park. This is one of them. This is the north cell phone waiting lot. There's also the south. There are signs all over the place. They're small, but they will get you here. Check this out. They have a display screen showing when flights are touching down so you know when to head to the terminal. And the best part, if you're waiting here, that means you're not waiting at the airport and adding to the congestion on the roads around the terminals. At MCO, Eric Von Aken getting results. News 6.
All right, great follow-up there. It is so dangerous to park on those shoulders. There have been lots of crashes, too, with people confused about what's happening over there. We want to show you a recap of the launch that happened this morning. Maybe you noticed some of the trails in the sky as you headed out, but we were live on the air this morning just before 7 for this sunrise rocket launch from our coast. ULA launching an Atlas V rocket with a secret payload for the U.S. Space Force at 6:45. And it's the bit of an end of an era because it's the last launch of an Atlas V for a national security mission because the government is switching to a new Vulcan Centaur rocket, which is the latest in technology options for that. So beautiful launch, picture perfect right there. If you have any pictures of that, be sure to upload them to Pins. You can do that from our app or go to clickorlando.com and upload those. You might see them on the air on one of our newscasts later on this afternoon. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with a live interview with a doctor about getting ready for back to school with the kids. Welcome back right here on Breakfast with Bridgett here on News 6 Plus and clickorlando.com. I'm Bridgett Ellison. Good to have you with us on this Tuesday morning. It's 7:46. We have a live interview this morning with a doctor in the house with us for breakfast, and we're talking about getting ready for back to school. Joining us today is Dr. Aviel Lemus out of Miami, Florida. Good morning, Dr. Lemus.
Good morning, Bridget. Thank you for having me.
This is an important time with the getting ready for back to school because, you know, it's a lot of times coincides with getting those annuals done, some of those physicals, and maybe you have a new kiddo going to school. So there are different things you got to check off the list with the pediatrician too.
That's right. I'm Dr. Lemus. Thank you again for having me. I am a board certified pediatrician, and I'm also founder of Miami Concierge Pediatrics. We're actually the only pediatric practice down in Florida that does all of the patient care in the patient's home. So, yes, vaccines also that are coming up. We go out to the patient's homes and we do them all there and provide those blue and yellow forms that all the schools are asking for right now. So, yes, it's that time of year.
And so, what happens in terms of getting the kids ready? Because there are, like you said, those forms, and it can be confusing because you need those for even some of the daycares, right?
Yes, that's right. You actually need them to get into any child care facility, whether it's school or daycare. As early as 6 weeks, that's the earliest that daycares will take children, infants. And so you do need those. You need your
Hmm.
first set of vaccines at 6 to 8 weeks, and you need a pediatrician to do a physical exam. Those physical exams are actually quite frequent in that first year of life, some 7 to 8 times in that first year, and then they decrease as the years go on. But the schools need to know that you're taking your child to the pediatrician and that he's healthy to participate in the activities.
Mm-hmm. And so, if you're getting ready for back to school, what typically are the types of shots that come up? I know it varies, but it's is it going to be like their first round, or are these like boosters, or sort of what usually is the most common ones that people have to get caught up on or get before they go back or go for the first time?
So there's a lot of them actually that have to get done, and there's a schedule that you can find on the CDC website, the Centers for Disease Control. You can also find it on the American Academy of Pediatrics website. And it really depends on the age. When you're an infant, you're getting boosters. Your first set of shots are at 2 months, and then you get boosters at 4 months, 6 months, and a year of age. Then it spaces out a little bit more after that. And certainly when you're going into the pre K years, you have to get some boosters again at age 4 and age 5 before you start school.
Mm-hmm. I made a funny meme of my daughter when she was just under 2 years old, and I pulled it up in my phone because this is a real picture of her at the pediatrician. This is my daughter Elise, and I made a meme out of it. And it says, "At doctor's appointment, like y'all giving me shots today?" Because by that age, they become aware of, okay, I'm at the doctor, and I don't like what happens here. I really don't. And you can see the concern there. But
That's
she's
right.
a good sport, and she knows, she's 8 years old now, but they do go through a little bit of anxiety. And I think also parents too, it's hard to, watch that. So what are some of the ways that we're dealing with that these days, thanks to technology?
Yeah, they can certainly remember as young as I would say that the first year visit or even the 9 month visit, they already remember what happened at the 6 month visit. So believe me, by the time they're toddlers, they know exactly what's going on from the moment that you drive into the parking lot of the office. So what do you do? I think rule number one is to be honest. I know a lot of parents find it hard to do that because the moment you say we're going to the doctor's office, you may get a lot of tears, a lot of anxiety.
And
But
they're going to
actually,
ask you if they can talk. They'll ask you, "Am I getting shots today?"
they will. They will. They're going to ask. They know, even if they can't talk, they know what's going on. And so you want to be honest with them and you want to say, even days beforehand, you want to remind them, you want to prepare them, tell them what the procedure is going to be like, and always use positive language to communicate what's going to happen. So, this is for your health. This is to make you strong. This is to make sure that you're not going to get sick. You definitely don't want to do the opposite and speak in negative language.
Mm-hmm. And you have a type of technology you're using now that can sort of help distract them a bit.
Yeah, that's right. So, everybody knows there's certain techniques that work when the moment is it's about to happen, the vaccine's coming, or a blood draw also, which happens in your yearly physicals. You can use music, right? We know we can pull out the iPhone and show them a video. Baby Shark works wonders. But we've taken that to a new level, a more sophisticated form, and it's using virtual reality. Our pediatric practice in Miami is the first outpatient practice to be using this technology. It's called the Smiley Scope, And it's basically a set of virtual reality goggles that you put on your baby, on your toddler, and all of a sudden they're lost in a world that is coordinated with what we are doing in the real world, but they don't realize that. So they may think they're swimming through the water, feeling the cool breeze, when it's really us applying alcohol on their arm, preparing for the vaccine. And then when we're about to puncture the skin, we coordinated with a fish that is coming and swimming towards them. We say, well, they're about to nibble on the fishy is going to nibble on your arm. And that's when we go in. And
Oh,
so that coordination causes analgesia in the brain, which is amazing. You just think it's something else.
well, now did you say this is just for kids? Because I'm interested.
Not at all. Really, look, in pediatrics, we see them, until we send them off to college.
Uh-huh.
So we certainly see adult children, if you will, and adults can certainly benefit from this also. If you have
Mm-hmm.
anxiety with needle sticks, IVs, right? Same idea. We can use these goggles on you also.
Yeah, we recently talked to an office using this for endoscopy procedures with kids who might have to frequently come in for those because of different ongoing treatment issues. And so it can get to be, a lot of labor going back and forth for those types of things. And it's so invasive that they are using that virtual reality technology to sort of take their mind off of the grind, if so to speak, of having to get frequent endoscopy procedures. But that's amazing.
That's right. The hospital systems have been great about adopting this type of technology. Down here in South Florida, we have Nicholas Children's, which is using it, which is a big hospital system down here. And unfortunately, though, the outpatient clinics have not really started to use it, and I think it's
Mm-hmm.
our turn. I really want to encourage all parents out there to ask their pediatricians about this technology. And if a pediatrician is hearing me, I want to encourage you to really try it out. It's not just about how more smooth it's going to make this whole process and you're just going to be able to get through the procedure more quickly, but it's really about turning what can be a traumatic experience for a child into something fun. So
Mm-hmm.
I definitely recommend it.
Now, is it a major investment for an office to add something like this? When you sort of get different types of machines and different things into the office, those that are newer, it sometimes can be a huge investment.
Sure, it's always an investment, but I think it's worth your money. It definitely is because again, it's not about making the process more quickly, which it will, and that in turn makes the practice in the office more efficient. So that's good. You're going to get some worth from your investment there. But it's really about the children's lives. You can sometimes really create trauma from these needle sticks, and it
Mm-hmm.
carries on for years and years. So it's definitely worth the investment.
Well, this is great. And so, again, where you said we could go to get a look at those shots again and get an idea of which things we need for back to school?
Sure. I recommend healthychildren.org. That's the parental website of the American Academy of Pediatrics. But you can also go to the CDC, right? The Centers for Disease Control, or the main American Academy of Pediatrics website. You'll get the information there for what shots are needed.
Awesome. Well, this has been great, and it's good to hear about this technology, and hopefully everyone has a great back to school. Thank you, Dr. Lemus, for joining us, and thanks for all you do.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. Take care.
You-
All right. So there you have it. And that's very interesting. Smiley Scope is what he was telling us about. And remember, it is that time to get the back to school shopping done if you haven't yet, because we have the tax-free holiday that kicked off yesterday and runs through August 11th. So make sure you take advantage of that. You don't have to pay for taxes on clothing, shoes, all those supplies, even computers up to a certain amount. So we've posted the full list of what's covered and what's not on clickorlando.com/back to school. While you're on clickorlando.com, make sure you enter to win those Monster Jam tickets. We're giving away 5 family fun packs of tickets, and there's no cost. You can register to be an insider. That's free while you're online, and then you can enter to win this contest now through July 30th, which is today, so it's the last day. But get your chance to win in for those tickets. It's this weekend. I'm going. I can't wait. Friday, we're talking to a Monster Jam driver who happens to be a girl. So we're excited about that too. So make sure you check that out. Enter to win those tickets. And that's going to do it for breakfast this morning. I'll see you back here at 7:30. I'll see you later today at noon. Take care.